Greetings everyone, it's John Kenny here, your Kilted Kenny. I'm bringing you a second installment on the in-law suite, secondary suites situation as an opportunity to help offset some of the costs of owning a house and or generate some income. One of the things I want to talk about today is there's a difference between an in-law suite and a secondary suite. A secondary suite is what you would consider a legal second unit, and an in-law suite is where you have someone else in your house that has, kind of maybe there's some of their own facilities, but not everything. So it's not legal and follow HRM's rules. So let's talk about a secondary suite. So there's basically like 6 categories that you can look at when it comes to a secondary suite and what HRM's looking for when you do it. So the first thing is it needs to be, as we mentioned, self-contained. So if you have a secondary unit, let's say you take the basement of your place and you turn it into a secondary unit, you need to have a bathroom, a full kitchen, or a bedroom, at least one bedroom, and a rec room. So those things are set, and its own entrance as well. So that's the first part you need to do. It also, a second criteria is it needs to be located within the main envelope of the building. So within your house, there are nanny suites that can go in the backyard, or maybe sometimes they can put something in the garage, but that is a little bit different than what they're talking about when they talk about a secondary unit. The third item, which has gotten a lot easier in the last 5 years, has been permitting. Before, if you were in an R1 zone, you were not allowed to put a legal second unit in unless you had a variance from the city. Now, they have opened that up quite a bit, and basically most places will allow an in-law suite to go if you follow the city's rules on when you're building and go through their process. So a permit is very capable. You do have to jump through some ropes for them because you have to follow rules they have in place, but that's what makes it legal, and that's what gives you the advantages later on, such as if you're financing, a bank can use a portion of that rent as towards your debt ratio, things like that, whereas on an in-law suite it's not allowed. So the fourth thing is you need a building permit and inspections from the city. So once you get the building permit, you have it laid out, it meets the criteria, you're getting ready to put in your fire stops on the ceiling, and maybe an air exchanger in the house because one of the units would need it. There's some different things. They'll send someone out to inspect the unit to make sure that it does follow the criteria and that you've met it. And the fifth thing is that it needs to follow the Nova Scotia building code on the secondary unit. So it's like you're building a new house in that secondary unit, and you need to follow the rules and regulations that they have for how you build it. And that's all laid out by the city. We can talk about that later, but that takes a lot more time to go into that detail. And the size must stay secondary. So there is a provincial government grant right now that can lend money for someone to build a secondary unit if it's for an elderly parent or a younger person's moving in to take care of an elderly parent, or you're going to rent it, but you're going to give a discount to the renters to the market rents and make affordable housing. They'll allow that as well. But it must stay between 860 and 970 finished square feet. That's what they have in for HRM for the rules, which is basically a pretty big basement apartment, or it's a decent sized unit. Not huge by any means, but it's good. So to summarize and wrap it up, the difference between an in-law suite and a secondary unit. In a secondary unit, the legal checklist would say it needs to be a self-contained unit, it needs to be inside the main house, it needs to have zoning that allows for that secondary unit to be there, which is pretty open these days. It needs to have a building permit that's been obtained by making an application to HRM. It needs to be passed inspections by the HRM inspector or inspectors, and it needs to meet building and fire code, and it has to be within the size limits. So those are the 6-7 items that needs to happen. Things that don't count as an in-law suite are no permanent record on file with the city. It's shared laundry or shared access to laundry, kitchens, bathrooms, things like that. That's more of a roommate situation. There's no egress window in the basement. That's also an issue. Can't be legal if they can't get out or follow the rules for safety. It says no fire separation. So a lot of times you're going to have extra barriers to slow the rate of fire burn in the house. It's important when there's 2 units there. And that's something that it's easy enough to be done with drywall or certain kinds of things that the contractor will talk to. And it cannot be a DIY conversion. Okay, so that is the summary of that. So basically, a legal secondary unit is a permit, code compliant, self-contained second dwelling inside a house. Everything else is just extra unfinished space. Now, all this information is, to my knowledge, accurate, but always consult HRM when you're looking to do it. And if anyone is interested in a printout or a PDF of what I've discussed here today, just direct mail me or send me a message in the inbox or YouTube or wherever you're watching this video, and I will do my best to get it to you as soon as possible. Thank you very much. I am John Kenny. I am your Kilted Kenny, and you guys have a great day. Thank you.